Oh, look who's here. She calls herself Monique DeSpain. And she's, I don't know if you heard or not. She's like out knocking on doors and stuff. Are you trick or treating early? Is that what it is? Or are you thinking about running for office? Actually, she's running for 4th District Congresswoman, taking on incumbent Val Hoyle. Welcome back to the studio. So you got to take a field trip.
I did. It seems like ages ago. It was just about 2.5 weeks. I talked to you right before I left.
Yeah, and that was going down to our southern border.
Yuma, Arizona.
How was that?
It is the salad bowl of the United States. 90% of all our leafy greens, our spring mix, spinach, all that is just right there, walking distance from a major highway in Mexico.
Mm-hmm. And so you were down there to take a look at what goes on at the southern border. And what did you see?
Well, the reason I went, because I'm convinced we have a crisis in our country. When the FBI director says we've never been more vulnerable as a nation than we are right now because of our open border, I believe the FBI director. Our current Congresswoman doesn't. And, I've read congressional reports about what's happening in those fields of spinach that are being contaminated by people changing diapers, sometimes dead bodies. Anyhow, I didn't need to be convinced, but our current elected Congresswoman, our representative that goes to Washington, D.C. she's supposed to be speaking on our behalf. She, last February, said, nothing to see here, folks, in El Paso. She said that she's actually having to convince her constituents that we don't need to secure the border, that there's not a problem, that we should really codify what's going on and pay, actually budget for the $150 billion it's costing us to process illegal immigrants into the country. So that's the main reason I went, is our elected representative is lying to people. And as I say, I've said it all year during the campaign, all progress begins with telling the truth. And the truth is, we have the current Biden-Harris administration has executed about 90 executive orders that are causing the orderly in-processing of millions of illegal immigrants. I spoke with the sheriff, Sheriff Wilmot down there, the chief of police, Border Patrol, and they said basically there's three things that happen. A person is they walk up to the border and they can just walk through. I saw the wall there. The Trump wall is incomplete. Certain patches of it have been filled with Biden patch work, but I saw where the end of the wall is, and people just walk through, and they're either arrested or they turn back, or they're gotaways. So everyone is arrested, and then they're processed into the country. And Yuma, to survive, has an elaborate network of nonprofits that are, you just were talking about FEMA earlier. They ask for reimbursements from FEMA, our Federal Emergency Management System, right? They're having to put resources to processing these human beings that need everything that we need, food, medical care, shelter, and they're processing them throughout the interior of our country.
Now, wait a second. They're arresting them, and they're not sending them back.
No, we actually know when they're right. No, that's the catch and release.
Okay, so they catch them and they say you're free to go.
That's right, and they give them hearing dates sometimes that are 8 to 11 years out. Since I made that trip, this letter came the day Harris visited the border recently, September 25th, 2024. This congressperson, Tony Gonzalez from Texas District 23, the southern border of Texas, he requested in March of 2024 information from ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, about just, who is coming over the border. And it was just recently reported they finally wrote to this congressperson. These are the kind of letters I will be writing to federal agencies to demand information. But they took that long. It's dated September 25th. And they reported that there are nearly 650,000 criminal aliens meaning on the NDD, meaning non-detained docket. They were encountered by Border Patrol and turned over to ICE, had their criminal history documented, and then were released into the United States. And they're roaming free throughout our country, communities throughout the United States.
660,000.
650,000. Almost 15,000 of those convicted homicides. 20,000 sexual assault. 105,000 convicted of assault. Of the 650, over 400,000 are actually convicted of these crimes in their countries. The rest are pending criminal charges. So, this might be contributing to the mass retirement and leaving Border Patrol jobs. Can you imagine? They're completely capable of detaining and returning these illegal immigrants from whence they came, but because of the Biden-Harris orders, they are processed into our country instead.
And then turned loose like they're ever going to show up for court.
Yeah, so Yuma was like 102 degrees when I got there, even at night. It was very hot. So you don't see homeless around like you do in Eugene. But they've, like I say, developed an elaborate logistics response. And they get people out of there within the day that they arrive. You can get out of Yuma faster than you can book a ticket and get out of Eugene.
Where do they send them?
All throughout the country.
There is no just one particular place? Do they okay.
They even had the one logistics nonprofit had the white unmarked buses that I've heard from eyewitness accounts we have on the coast in our communities here being delivered to seafood processing companies.
So
the ones that endorse Val Hoyle.
So are you? Oh, okay. So this is like a big rabbit hole. So are these nonprofits being contacted by states or entities, businesses or whatever that want to hire them and say, send me a busload to here? I mean,
they apply for grants. They ask for reimbursements. I met with the hospital CEO of the hospital there. They're still trying to recoup $26 million in losses from when there's an influx of migrants. They've had to accommodate them. So it kind of waxes and wanes. When I was there, it wasn't like a crush of humanity. I did see some people approaching the border when we were out there at night. You could see the lights. And then I did see about 40 people being processed through this logistics area that I'm mentioning. But the hospital, they try to recoup from the government, from FEMA, from various entities, and they're obviously not getting reimbursed all the time. I went to a food bank, the biggest food bank there, that also, there's a Marine station there, a Marine base. And as we all know, some young entry-level service members are eligible for food stamps and support, and they count on the food banks. That same food bank is providing to hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants. And that food bank actually provides food to various nonprofits. There's a whole network. But all that energy and all those resources are accommodating these people that, they do need the food. They do need... It's just interesting when people that are... first of all, this is not a immigration system issue. This is national security. We do need reforms with immigration, but this is national security. These are people. I just mentioned the numbers of convicted felons that are coming in. It is a rabbit hole. It's a huge problem.
Off the Chris Dental inbox, Quincy says, 1, Val Hoyle's latest commercial touts she wants the U.S. border controlled. I don't remember, and this is him writing, I don't remember anything she's done in the last 4 years to control the border. Am I missing something?
Well, that's a great question, Quincy. This elected congresswoman reacts to her opponent. That's what's happened here. I made this trip. I told you about it, Bill.
Yeah.
I also told KEZI. They interviewed me, and I gave them pictures and everything, and they did a little spot. And so they gave equal time to Val Hoyle. And immediately she changed her tune. Here are the facts. Like I said, all progress begins with telling the truth. Our representative voted against the only House bill that proposed a secured border, and it passed the House H.R. 2 back in May. She voted against it, and that bill would have restarted building the border wall. And I saw piles of the pieces of the wall. It's all there. The materials are there. In fact, the sheriff told me they've been selling those steel, those huge steel, the pillars that the wall is comprised of. They're selling it. This is they're selling it at 90% off. Anyway, the wall is there. This bill would have restarted building the border wall. It would have ended the catch and release policy that I just described to you, where they're arrested and then released into the interior. It would have ended that. It would have reinstituted the successful Remain in Mexico policy. It would have deployed technology to the southern and northern border. In fact, that's another thing I saw, the actual tall, city lamp posts for lighting and surveillance cameras. There was an executive order right as soon as Biden was elected. They halted the installation of that equipment, and there was no light and there are no cameras, courtesy of the Biden-Harris administration. They could just reverse that right now. Why aren't they doing that? Anyway, this bill would have done that. It would have increased the number of Border Patrol agents, strengthened the asylum process, and this is important after what I saw. It would have reimbursed states for costs incurred while securing the border. I was told by the sheriff there, who's part of an American alliance of sheriffs with 3,000 members, that it's costing the captured costs $150 billion a year. It's costing Americans. So this bill would have addressed all of that, and Val Hoyle voted against it. So we have no border bill, right? That passed the House, and it sits still collecting dust in the Senate, the Democrat majority Senate. So the American people and their representatives have had to grapple with the consequences of not having a secure border. So there are about 10 bills. And I'll just run through these. You can learn all about this on my website, MoniqueForCongress.com. But you want me to go through these bills? The Lake and Riley Act, for example, the Detain and Deport Illegal Aliens Who Assault Cops Act. She voted against all of these. She voted against the most recent one, which was a Violence Against Women by Illegal Aliens Act. This is the woman who says she's for women's rights, but she voted against a bill that would immediately deport an illegal immigrant who assaults a woman.
Another question. Val Hoyle claims law enforcement organizations are backing her. True?
There's one Portland-based organization, or cops. If you go look, they're also endorsing Dan Rayfield for Attorney General. It's the Portland crowd that's trying to spread the cancer in our district. OrCops has virtually no representation in the 4th District. When I asked them why, they just gave me a blank look. They won the Eugene City Police.
All right.
I wonder if they're part of the problem why we have so much crime right here in Eugene. But they're the only ones that are a member of OrCops. If you go to my website, you'll see all the endorsements I have by our sheriffs who live and work in this district. And many, many retired law enforcement who just aren't so concerned about the political ramifications of endorsing a political outsider.
Okay. Question. Does she have any proof of her claim about the Fed's indictment of Val?
I don't know if she's been indicted or if she will be, but I know she's being investigated.
I don't think you've ever said indictment.
Never.
Okay, further. As far as the cannabis firm under federal scrutiny, that would be LaMotta, Hoyle said she was misled by LaMotta leaders and is not under investigation. She added that she fully supports the FBI's inquiry into the company. Sends a quote. They're leaning in on the story that's just a reach, referring to you. And I've seen this where Hoyle said this, but they have to lie. They have to lie to win because Monique DeSpain does not have anything to run on. Your response?
Oh, she insults every veteran in America when she says that. I would take a young staff sergeant who has served our country any day of the week over Val Hoyle, who has no understanding of national security, doesn't even want to secure a border. Talk about, she doubles down on lies. She has never done anything to secure our border. And she lies about me, her opponent, because she has nothing. She says, I want to ban abortion. Big, huge lie. Provable. I'm on the record saying I do not support a federal abortion ban. It's just been remarkable, astonishing, really, how willing an elected official is to lie to her constituents. You know, what else is she lying about? So, and of course she would support an FBI investigation, but she sure didn't support Boley when they asked her for 11 months to have her official records of her communications with LaMotta, who, by the way, was under investigation by her own agency. Did I tell you last time that while she was whining and dining with LaMotta and doing favors to the tune of $500,000 of our tax dollars, there were 11 employee complaints against against LaMotta for workplace abuse, pending at Boley while she was the commissioner. It's absolutely outrageous. But she didn't cooperate with Boley, who did not have subpoena power to get those records that showed the inappropriate relationship she had with that business. So that's one reason I'm sure that the FBI and DOJ had to subpoena the records, because she wasn't voluntarily providing what the taxpayers are entitled to do. One more piece of information. The Oregonian reported, I was shocked to see this, I've been misstating something. I've been saying, because I read that the $550,000 grant was deemed illegal by the new Boley commissioner, and it was clawed back. And I had thought that they clawed all of it back except for the executive director's salary of nearly $100,000. But they have not been able to recover almost all of the $500,000. They've only recovered about $100,000. Val Hoyle was very expensive to the taxpayers in her term as Boley commissioner. She also failed to protect a person who reported to her, a director of Civil Rights Division of Boley, complained of workplace discrimination, racial discrimination. The boss lady, Val Hoyle, didn't do the right thing, which would have been so easy to do when you're the boss, right? It's unlawful to discriminate. And Boley, that's their primary purpose.
Right.
Anyway, there was a jury award of $1.7 million and another award of $1 million in attorney fees, that courtesy of the taxpayer, due to Val Hoyle's failure in leadership. When she talks about how I don't have anything to offer, she doesn't have a thimble of leadership experience. And that is such a great example right there. Not able to handle a discrimination claim. One of the easiest things to do in this country, where it's unlawful to discriminate against people.
And particularly at Boley, that's one of the things that they prosecute.
That is their primary mission.
Yeah.
In fact, you have to go to Boley to get a right to sue letter if you want to sue a discriminatory employer. Mm-hmm. Boley is supposed to be keeping track of that. Oh, by the way, they're kind of running low on cash for perhaps the reasons we just laid out, and they're now not going to address all Boley workplace discrimination cases.
I think it's 40.
Yeah.
If the employee makes, I think the way that it was worded, if they make over $40,000 a year, they're not going to.
Yeah, the more money you make, the less protection you get. Does that sound familiar in today's day and age?
All right. We have 1 minute, and so I'm going to ask you the last question that comes in from Doug here. That we had a couple of others. We don't have time. Please to ask Monique what she sees as the best form of support for her campaign in the time remaining. Quickly, because we only have
I
like
hate
a
to
minute.
say it, but I need money for this campaign. You know, I had to waste money running an ad where I talked to camera saying, I don't want to ban abortion. Val Hoyle's lying. I personally benefited from the miracle of IVF. That cost a lot of money, and I need to keep running ads. So Monique for Congress.com. But I do appreciate you letting me tell these stories here. I have one more about the Fix Our Forests
How long
Act.
do we have?
We got about 40 seconds.
Fix Our Forests Act, passed by all the Republicans, 55 Democrats, including Nancy Pelosi and our Val Hoyle. In a district that is comprised of 86% forest, she voted against one of the most transformative acts to ever pass Congress that would simplify environmental reviews, end frivolous litigation, foster relationships between agencies. It's a good bill. It did pass, but Val Hoyle voted against it and didn't tell us why.
It's the Wake Up Call. Monique DeSpain. I'm Bill. He's Gary. We're out. See you tomorrow.